Michael, no! With swirling thoughts, the former angel gripped Dean tightly and opened his wings, rushing past the enemy and down the corridor before another prison could be summoned. Ushering Dean through the mirror, he already felt the other presence behind him. Turning around, he faced the figure. I underestimated you. Fortunately, I always keep an ace up my sleeve. The man spoke as if it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Where did you learn magic like that? Merlice asked, wrestling with the urge to act as foolishly as Michael had before. Another snap unleashed a storm of fire directed at the mirror. Merlice knew his enemy was trying to prevent him from escaping. He would be of no help to Michael if he was caught too. Forgive me, brother, he muttered as he jumped through the mirror only seconds before the heat shattered it. Splinters and embers followed him to the other side, where Dean stood with a worried expression. He didn't say anything to his human friend. Wasn't able to. Taking Dean, he quickly made for safety, for he assumed the enemy was still on their heels. Back at Dean's house, he turned into a raven and stared broodingly into the distance from the roof. He didn't notice how time flew by. The ability to act had left him where emptiness now prevailed. The sun was sinking when Dean came out, looking towards the roof and shielding his eyes from the last bright beams. Merlice stared back, yet he didn't move a muscle. In the end, he came down after all, changing back upon landing. There you are. I thought you'd left when you were suddenly gone. When he found no words for a reply, Dean continued. I went through my books, but angels aren't often encountered by occultists. I have no idea what we are up against. The Englishman concluded, averting his heavy eyes. That doesn't matter, Merlice said, clenching his fists. When I find that son of a bitch, not even God will be able to help him. I'm sorry, Merlice. Seeing his friend suffer let the hatred die down enough for him to feel something else. Dean, he started softly. Dean, listen to me. If someone should feel guilty, it's me. Michael is my brother. And Gabriel was right. I dragged you into this mess. I shouldn't have done that. Merlice saw the guilt he sometimes still felt himself when his friend looked back up. I lost one friend already. I will not let you do this alone. The voice was as determined as it was somber. I was afraid you might give in to hatred, with your uncle still alive and all. Now I have to be afraid you might be eaten up by your own guilt. Dean managed to smile after seeing his friend's attempt. You of all should know that emotions cannot just be ignored. Taking a moment to observe the setting sun, Dean continued their original conversation. So what are we going to do? They ambushed a seraphim, Dean, the devil answered calmly. The most powerful kind of angel there is. For all we know, they could even have taken God. Then perhaps we should look for him. What? No! If he's still somewhere out there, then we couldn't find a better ally. Merlice saw the truth in Dean's words, even if his pride prevented him from admitting that. No, I'm not going to come crawling back home on my belly. No, not going to happen. Listen, you're not supposed to kiss his feet. Just ask him some questions. We don't even know where he is. Michael said he left heaven. I'm sure we will find a way. We all... No! Merlice stopped his friend mid-sentence by holding up his index finger. Don't you say that. Now I have the feeling you're just looking for a way to not find him. What am I supposed to say, eh? Hey, Papa, it's me, you remember? I just lost Michael to some mortal lunatic. Please lend me a hand to correct my mistake. Dean only gave him a stern glance, which looked even darker as it started to rain, when the devil feigned an enthusiastically cheerful tone. Oh, bloody hell, see? Even the weather hates your ideas. You will not run away from this, Merlice. This is our only chance to save Michael. They could be about to kill him as we speak. Marius was entering the house when he stopped amidst his movements. It was true, they didn't have time. These mortals had magic and weapons not even every angel possessed, just when he and Michael had started to find common ground. Fine, he finally answered. Marius, Melissa only said when she saw him coming inside. I heard from Dean. I'm sorry, I wish I could help. Don't worry too much, my dear, the devil countered in a warm tone. Where are your rebellious daughters? He asked when she served supper and tea to the two men. They are with my mother today, helping on the farm. The Lord knows they need something to pour their energy into. Having eaten, Marius complimented the woman on her skills in the kitchen. You just tell me when you're ready, mate. Where are you going? Visit an old friend, the fallen angel said with a smirk. A soft drizzle had replaced the rain when he walked to the stables. Hello, my friend. Did you miss me? He greeted Armand, who returned the sentiment with a happy neigh. Producing an apple from his pocket, he offered it to the horse. A pang of sadness filled him at seeing the empty stable where Nathaniel's horse had slept in. The rebel stallion had been old, but it could still have lived a good deal of years. A brother of Melissa's who had a good understanding of horses did have the theory that the loss of his rider had made the animal lie down to never get up again. It would have been a lie to say Marius didn't care. The grey horse had been the only thing for the three friends to hold on to the memory of the deceased. Armand nipped him as he ruffled the black mane. Getting the hint, Marius opened the door and got on the horse's back. His friend loved to run without the hindering saddle and bridle, and Marius wanted to give him that freedom. Racing past fields and houses, the devil felt how the present burden left him for the moment, thrown off by Armand's swift step that made the wind rush in his ears and sent his hair flying through the air. It made him feel so wonderfully light and detached from the world around, always one step ahead of the following troubles. Back at the stables, he cleaned Armand's place before he finished by grooming his friend. Despite the contentment of the horse, his thoughts reverted back to his brother and the dark fate overshadowing Michael's light. Seeing something from the corner of his eye, Marius turned to see the figure he had barely escaped from. His heart gave out as he instinctively paced backwards. Stumbling over some obstacle behind him, he landed on the hard ground. Making haste to see his enemy, Marius found nobody there. Armand gave him what might have been a worried look. Lowering his head, he snorted into his rider's face. I'm fine, he answered, still catching his breath. I just lost my footing. He tried to calm down by telling himself that it was just his mind playing tricks. Yet the sinking feeling didn't leave him, and he kept looking over his shoulder on the way back to Dean. It wasn't until the next morning that the two went outside to put Dean's plan, which he had concocted at night, into action. Are you sure he can help? Are you sure he will help? Marius attacked his friend, still trying to convince him of the futility of finding God. He's the only idea I got, Dean replied while looking for the right spot to work his spell. Once deep enough in the woods, he took the sheet of rock as large as a plate and laid it on the grassy ground. Marius' distrusting expression upon seeing the same circle Dean had used in Rome must have given him away. I'm going to be fine, Marius. The seal is gone. I know, I just feel a bit uneasy. This time was different from the last. In Rome, Dean had lost consciousness, which had resulted in death appearing to him in the dark. With the restraining seal being absent, the men performed the summoning with ease, causing the entity to appear in front of them. Death stared at them with unwavering monotony in his features. You seem to have a death wish, since you are seeking my attention so desperately. The casual voice addressed Dean with neither annoyance nor humor. You do understand that I have other responsibilities. I wouldn't call you if I knew another option, Dean replied with a subtle hint of humbleness in his voice. Seemingly acknowledging the apology, Death turned to the devil. His pupils suddenly grew larger when he examined the fallen angel. "And Lucifer," he finally uttered after minutes of uncomfortable silence. "Congratulations on successfully facing your mistakes and reclaiming the throne." Marilise didn't know if it was sincerity or mockery in the entity's words. "I have my moments," he shot back in a smooth tone. "We need your help." Dean took the word, speaking in the same respectful voice from before. "So it seems. But I don't want to encourage you to seek my advice every time the world seems to end." "I'm not." Death raised his hand, indicating that he wished for them to listen first. "Hear me out, young man, before you start bargaining. I don't favor one soul over another, and I don't like interfering with the natural order of things. I helped you once, Dean, and once it shall remain." "But you didn't help me yet," Marilise countered. Death smiled as if he had expected that. The master of loopholes never misses any flaws in any equation. Obviously enjoying their conversation, Death prodded Marilise with the end of his cane. "Very well, Lightbringer. Why did you summon me? You don't seem interested in the apocalypse anymore." "I need to find my father. I need to find God. You are the only one old enough and knowledgeable enough to find him." "I am far from omniscient. I merely have experience." Silence settled while Death pondered over the things that said. Now, where would God go after leaving heaven behind in an attempt to find peace? The entity thought out loud, pacing around. Finding a tree stump, he sat down, looking at man and fallen angel in an expecting manner. I don't know." Dean trailed off. "He would look for solitude," Marilise mused as he forced himself to remember times long gone. "For wines and dates and cakes in a land of milk and honey. He would look for a place without winter where no one would find him." "That sounds like an oasis in the middle of the desert to me," Death concluded dryly, still sitting on a stump. "There are several deserts. He could be in any single one of them. I always thought the sands of Arabia to hold a certain charm. The nomad tribes, as dangerous as they may be, carry some kind of magic in their legends and myths." "Do you think we should look there?" Marilise asked, but Death gave them nothing but a satisfied glance. "I'll see you some day, Dean." As was typical for him, Death disappeared without waiting for any answers from the two friends. "Arabian desert, eh?" Marilise sighed as he scratched his head. "I suggest for you to put on some light clothes before we go down there.